Hello everyone, my name is Dean. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the rates of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is April 4th, 2025. And today I want to tackle a larger question, a question I've been getting a lot from my private clients. Is Bitcoin actually recession-proof? And actually, I want to really hone that question in because I don't want to have some sort of economic philosophical debate. I don't see the point. I don't think it's very practical. Can Bitcoin deal with the recession we are about to experience? Very likely, right? Is Bitcoin and crypto going to be able to successfully hedge against the larger economic downturn that we're likely facing in the world today? That's really the question I want to answer. So I'm going to answer that today. I'm going to also talk about Bitcoin's immediate and medium time frame price action, as well as the rest of the cryptocurrency market, altcoins, right? So if that all sounds interesting to you, then watch until the very end. Hope everyone's having a great day. Let's get into it. So let's start with Bitcoin. Look at this 4 hourly, let's stay on the daily. Let's stay on the daily. Okay, what are we dealing with? We're still dealing with what we've been looking at, okay? Which is what? Which is Bitcoin on the high time frame looking to eventually retest this level, okay? This pink box up here is our final retest before our breakdown down here, okay? That's been the trading thesis on this channel for many months now, that we were in a distributive channel that broke down and that eventually had to break back up before eventually ultimately breaking down. So I think you can really see it well on the daily time frame, right? So you have 100 plus days initial breakdown, and now this is a B wave. So if you look at this complete breakdown as some sort of zigzag, you have this as your A wave, your initial break, this as your intermediate counter correction or your B wave, and then finally a C wave, right? So Bitcoin's still in the B wave, and the B wave, as if you guys don't know, is characterized by complex, slow, deliberate, very unpredictable price action. That is the definition of a B wave, and that's exactly what we've experienced since about the end of February. Okay, it's just been like that. So I want to zoom in just for a second and look at what this B wave has done, okay, and how we're likely nearing the end of this massive B wave that we've been in for 35 days now, okay, over 35 days. And again, this is why it's hard to read. This is why it's not one wave here and one wave there. A lot of people get this wrong. A lot of you in the comments are like, oh, this is it, right? This is it, right? Not necessarily referring to the B wave, but you're looking at the B wave thinking it's some sort of impulsive move or directive move. It's not. There are certain aspects of price action that are just like this. And actually, most of price action, if you really study technical analysis, most of the time, price action is in these phases of B waves or X waves, right? They're like in these muddled consolidations or accumulations, and it really helps to be able to, one, recognize that, two, try and break them down so you can anticipate the next high probability move. So this is my beginning of my B wave. In my B wave, I see an initial break, so I would call that A wave of B, B wave of B, first phase. Okay, and again, everything typically happens in flavors of 3. So I'm looking for 3 phases. That's my first phase. My second phase is some sort of impulse here, and here A, B, C. So again, look at this. This is a compound A wave. This is B wave, C wave of this sort of impulse zigzag. So that all of this, if you want to label this A, B, you can label this alpha. This is beta. All this. And right here, as I like to call the pivot, or the last phase, the third phase of an A wave and a B wave. So basically, I think this is going to happen like this. Something like this. I think this is the end. This is the last phase of 3 pairs of corrective patterns that comprise the B wave of this larger correction. Let's zoom out again, just to keep context. This larger correction that has Bitcoin breaking down from our 100+ day distribution channel. You get a B wave. That B wave eventually takes you back to retest the bottom of that 100-day distribution channel, and then finally a drawdown. So this is what I'm seeing, and I don't think that it's out of the ordinary. Remember, because for Bitcoin to reaccumulate, it's a reaccumulation of sorts. To find steam, to come back up here, you need to recollect. You need to reaccumulate buyers to have enough buying pressure to retest these levels, despite showing so much weakness, despite having experienced such a sell-off here in January. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing. I'm still seeing in aggregate Bitcoin doing this. Okay, and in this time, or during this time, I should say, that Bitcoin is going up, retesting the bottom, right? Previous support lost now has to be retested as resistance. That's exactly what's happening right there with that B wave retest, the final leg. And remember, the final wave, the final aspect of any corrective pattern is always impulsive. So whatever happens in this B wave, do expect the final aspect of it to be impulsive in the opposite direction of the larger correction. So if this is the beginning of a correction, this is the counter correction. The counter correction is going to go opposite direction of the initial break. Okay, so that move is something that we've been looking at. I know a lot of you all debate me, oh, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening. Okay, whatever. But like on the charts, pretty much every day we get more and more evidence to suggest that it is indeed happening. It is in the process of happening. Just because it hasn't yet happened doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to happen. That's just the nature of price action. Sometimes it takes forever and a day, a lot longer than anticipated, but it's still likely to happen. In the meantime, I see altcoins where at a bottom, most altcoins, not all altcoins, but most altcoins at a bottom. And in the meantime, before this move takes place, again, this is my overall thesis that I've sort of talked about ad nauseum on this channel for the past few months. I see altcoins gaining ground on Bitcoin, especially in Bitcoin dominance, right? So basically altcoins gain against Bitcoin in dominance, meaning they outperform Bitcoin in market cap accumulation, because they have to get out of the way, because this drop is going to send the entire cryptocurrency market down. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing. I'm still seeing that. Now, before we get into altcoins specifically, I just want to address. Actually, you know what? Let's go into altcoins. Let's go into altcoins, because let's keep the whole crypto and the recession bit towards the end. Let's just do the altcoin analysis now. So I want to switch over to the Bitcoin dominance chart. And if you've been following, Bitcoin dominance has been, you can see this more clearly on the daily time frame. It's been at this major level of resistance for some time now. Okay, you can see ever since February, early February, when we hit a high in Bitcoin dominance, we've come down quite impulsively. This wick indicates an impulsive move, right? So basically, within the day, you shot up and you shot right back down, okay? You're basically, when you have a big wick like that, you show a lot of selling pressure or a lot of impetus to go to the downside. Despite having moved up quickly, you move down just as quickly. So that basically is all one move right here. It is a move and a counter. So that's why on the smaller time frames, or not on the smaller time frames, but if you want to analyze this, it would be wise to throw a Fibonacci level on the top right here and the bottom right here, not the orthodox low, the orthodox low, not the absolute bottom, but the orthodox low, which is right there. That's the low of this move right here. In that way, you can see that all of this that we've experienced in Bitcoin dominance has essentially been a phi level retest in 3 phases. Okay, again, you see corrective patterns take 3 phases. I'm gonna put the fibs back on while I show you the 3 phases that I'm referring to. Okay, so when we get up here, we see A, B, A, B. What am I doing? I'm sorry, I can't see it on the daily. I have to go down to the 4 hourly. I counted this yesterday, but for some reason it doesn't look like anything to me right now. Let me look at this again. Let's look at this again. Let's look at this again. Okay, I see. Okay, I see it. Sorry. And again, I don't cut these videos. I just, press record and then, let it out. So apologies for any delay. Okay, here's what I'm seeing. This all right here, this move down is one contiguous move. This is the counter, okay? But it's not enough to just get one. Even though I actually thought once we got that was it, because you see that we hit the minimum 0.5. And typically when you're looking at these corrective patterns, if it's a zigzag, you have to at least hit the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level, which was satisfied here. But look at what happens here. So you get your initial breakdown and then your counter. That's one pair of AB basing. You get your secondary breakdown and your secondary counter. That's 2 pairs of AB basing. You get your third pair of AB basing and your third breakdown. And if you throw fibs on each and every one of these, you'll see that the break and the counter each respect certain ratios. So here you have the break and the counter being between 0.5 and 618 of that break. So that's a zigzag. This is about a 1-to-1. That's a flat correction. This is within 1-to-1 618. So that's a legitimate flat correction. And you can prove that really quickly. I'm going to take these larger fibs off just to prove the last point I made. So look at this. If you can't eyeball it, do you see that? It's right within the 1618, which makes that a valid A wave, B wave. It's extended to the max, but it is a B wave. So here again, one pair 2 pairs, 3 pairs. 3 pairs of A/B basing, 3 pairs of corrective patterns to make a complete move. Okay, and a complete corrective pattern that takes you from this top, and look, all the way to the phi ratio, the 0.618. And look, right here, what are you doing? Having hit the 0.618, you're putting in what we know to be a head and shoulders bearish reversal pattern. This indicates with a high degree of probability that you're going to get a breakdown in Bitcoin dominance from this level. On the really high time frames, the daily, our momentum indicator suggests a top in the Bitcoin dominance. On the weekly time frame, similarly, you're a top at Bitcoin dominance. What does that mean? If Bitcoin dominance is at a top and it's coming down, that means altcoins are going to gain against Bitcoin. That supports our overall thesis that when Bitcoin heads back to that level, that completes the B wave, heads back to that pink box, that altcoins are going to do what we think they're going to do, which is fly off of support. Okay, and we're pretty much there. So this is really, really important, because a lot of people, and this is a good segue into our last topic, a lot of people are wondering, like, I'm being asked in private sessions all the time, and when I don't make a video for a while, it's two things. One, maybe because there's not that much different in the market. There's nothing substantive to report on, so I don't find the need to make a video. I really make the videos when I feel the need to, and it feels like I have something to say. If I have nothing to say, I won't make a video. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste mine. Second thing is, I'm just too busy with these private consultations, and I give a lot of my energy to that. I really appreciate the private clients, and being in crypto almost full time, it's pretty much what supports me. And when the industry is down as it has been, and we're stuck in consolidations for hundreds of days, it's tough. It's tough, on me in terms of my business. So that really helps me in terms of my business, and I want to really show appreciation to my clients, and I give 110% to each and every client. So that I take as my priority. Anyway, if we're correct and Bitcoin's going to do what it does, and altcoins on the whole are on support, then this is a great time to buy, despite what many may think is a horrible time in any market. A lot of people are saying we're going into a recession. It's probably true. All the macroeconomic factors are pointing to that. Actually, I don't want to wax poetic and philosophical about anything on this channel and debate, all kinds of economic theories. My strength and my main interest happens to be in technical analysis. So I look at charts. So I use charts to substantiate pretty much any opinions I hold strongly, and all of my main ideas and my views in my own trading portfolio. So I look at the US dollar currency index when I'm thinking, okay, what is the regular market doing? I don't look at the S&P. Sometimes I look at the S&P, but the most important aspect, and I've said this before on the channel, is actually the US dollar currency index. The US dollar is what makes the traditional market, the traditional stock market go. The US dollar is what makes cryptocurrency go. A lot of people don't understand this. They think crypto goes by the way of the traditional financial markets, the S&P. No. Both the traditional financial markets and crypto use the US dollar as their pool of liquidity. That's what moves the market, not Sailor buying, not anybody else buying, not some pronouncement. It's the liquidity of the US dollar. And you can prove it to yourselves. Here, look. And I've updated this chart. I've shown this chart for years on this channel, but I've updated it just yesterday. And it's not a perfect correlation, right? But you can see it. If you're honest, you look at it, you can see it. On top here, I have Bitcoin, and I have each candle representing a month worth of trading. Right on the bottom, I have the US dollar currency index. What is the US dollar currency index? For those of you who don't know, the US dollar currency index is a measure of the US dollar's overall strength. And how do we measure the strength of the US dollar? Well, basically, you take the US dollar and you peg it against a basket of foreign world reserve currencies, right? I think there are about 7. And there you get a relative strength of what the US dollar is in the world. And typically what we see is in Bitcoin's short history, and it's been a short history, right? We're only dealing with something that came out in 2009, 2010, and it's only 2025, so we're dealing with 15, 16 years, probably 12 years of charting data if we're lucky. So I've taken Bitcoin since 2014, and I've taken the US dollar currency index since 2014, July to be exact, and I've charted them one against the other. And you can see as Bitcoin goes up, typically the US dollar currency goes down, or better said, as the US dollar currency index trends downwards, generally speaking, Bitcoin trends upwards and vice versa. Most notably, there's a break in this in 2021. It just seems odd that in 2021, as the US dollar currency index was going up, Bitcoin was also going down, but then went up as well, okay? And again, it's not perfect, but overall, you can see they're kind of mirror images of one another. So we should expect, what does this tell you, practically speaking? This tells you that, yes, indeed, when the US dollar is weak, Bitcoin is strong. And that's actually the impetus of Bitcoin's entire existence. Bitcoin, for those of you who don't know, was created in the ashes of the 2008 financial disaster, right? The financial crash of 2008 in the US and worldwide. Satoshi Nakamoto said, well, we need to find a hedge against these very, very shady traditional financial practices, right? Banks borrowing against nothing, and artificially hedging this and that, and inflating this and that. Like, basically, Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. It's a hedge against the corruption of the traditional financial markets, right? And when you say it's a hedge against inflation, is Bitcoin recession-proof? What do you have in a recession? We have to talk about what a recession is. A recession, by definition, is when the economy is in a downturn, right? There's a market decline in the economy, and that's mostly consumer spending. That's mostly characterized by strong inflation. That's mostly characterized by consumer lack of consumers have lost all kind of hope and credibility in the financial system. So they're not buying, they're not holding assets. They're not spending as much. They're not, investing in this and that, right? So consumer confidence is down the hole. And gold, silver, precious metals, they're a hedge against these uncertain times. Is Bitcoin going to step to the plate and actually do that? Is crypto as a whole market going to give us that flight to safety and provide that a place where we can actually generate money and at the very least hold value in our money during these times? This is the question I want to answer. So the first answer to that, the first clue, is looking at the US dollar currency index. So historically, in its short history, Bitcoin has indeed performed as the dollar goes down. So as the dollar trends downwards, people lose faith in the dollar. The dollar loses strength worldwide. Bitcoin goes up. This is what this shows us. Next, I want to look at something more precisely. I want to look at the US dollar currency index just by itself. Look at what happened in January. Since January, the beginning of Q1, right? When we expect, after a halving event, historically, in its short history, we've gotten really strong positive growth in Bitcoin and in the rest of the cryptocurrency market in Q1. And that's usually characterized, or that's accompanied by a drop in the dollar and a strong boost in Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market and altcoins. Look at what happened. We got our drop in the dollar as soon as January, right? Q1 was characterized by a big, strong move down in the US dollar. Now, why hasn't Bitcoin responded in kind? Again, there may be some lag to this. You can see just by the correlation that I showed you, it's not one-to-one. The second the US dollar currency market, or the US dollar goes down in strength, that Bitcoin goes up. No, sometimes there's a bit of lag. And so I do expect Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market to respond to that, what we've been experiencing for the past 3 months, past 4 months almost, in the US dollar. A strong, stark declension, a decrease in the strength of the US dollar. That's important. And I'll end my analysis on the US dollar by saying this. That's the beginning. This is a rising wedge. Rising wedges tend to break down to their base. This is just the beginning of a move down for the US dollar. So this portends well for a strong move in crypto for some time, given that the US dollar is likely to fall much further. Again, this is only technical analysis, but it's uncanny how this chart that I've marked up, and I've had marked up for years, it reflects what's happening in the world right now. Charts imitate life, imitates charts. I don't know how it works, I don't know why it works, but there's something magical about technical analysis where back in 2008, you can see this rising wedge starting, and you could see that this is likely to break down. This was likely to break down with a high degree of probability. And actually, I don't know that the breakdown's all the way down here. I did label this as an Elliott wave impulse. And if this is indeed our initial break of structure, I think the breakdown comes down to about here, because the initial break, the A wave, tends to come down and target wave 4 of the previous trend. So I think that this move comes down all the way here, and then we get a subsequent B wave and a C wave. And that all takes 9 more years based off the time it's taken us to come down. Okay, so the correction in sum should take about 9 years, and that would be characterized by a counter and then finally a capitulative move down. That's another topic for another day. Let's finish in saying that Bitcoin, although we're expecting a move down, right, in the medium short term, after a small move up, we're expecting a larger move down. Altcoins, however, right, most altcoins, and let's go with Ethereum. I'm not going to look at the total 3 today. I feel like looking at Ethereum. Let's look at Ethereum, and I'm going to use Ethereum as a proxy for the altcoin market, because you don't have an alt season, you don't have a bull market without Ethereum showing strength and making higher highs and higher lows and all that stuff. Ethereum is right now at support. Ethereum is right now showing you that indeed the next big move for Ethereum is up in a major way. How can you have this evidence technically, right? This technical evidence of Ethereum showing a likely 3x as its next big move whilst we're in the midst of a financial crisis, which is likely to take all markets down? No. Altcoins are showing you via Ethereum that this support that it's been on, and this support right here, this line, about 1,000-day support. A lot of altcoins are on 700 to 1,000 days of support. This is likely to take it up and out of this massive inverse head and shoulders bullish reversal pattern, right? You can look left shoulder, head, right shoulder. This, you pop up and you just breach the neckline. You hit the middle right here of this channel right here, and then it's off to the races. This is what Ethereum's showing you. On the high time frame, massive bullishness. On the weekly time frame, my stochastic RSI momentum indicator is all the way down there. So everything's telling me, the US dollar currency index is telling me that it's going down. Meanwhile, Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency markets are likely to do what they've always done in their entire history, 12 to 15 years. As the dollar goes down, crypto goes up. So I would say it's likely that, yes, indeed, crypto, Bitcoin, and the rest of the cryptocurrency market is indeed a hedge against inflation, is indeed going to fulfill its mission as a flight to safety in uncertain economic times. Guys, if that was interesting, please like, share, and subscribe. Consider tipping me by Litecoin, sending me a Venmo, a Cash App, all at the pinned comment below, and do consider my crypto portfolio mentorship and consultation service. All can be found at the pinned comment below. I help clients balance their portfolios, make intelligent investment decisions by choosing altcoins that are actually going to run in the coming bull market. And I also give signals for high probability resistances, where to sell, and high probability supports, where to buy. On a monthly basis, we meet one-on-one for up to 2 hours every month. So do consider that also at the pinned comment below. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Seems I wake in the days while the world spins without me. Arrived at the fork in the road, could turn back, repeat the same story, or march forward and embrace change and reflect upon his glory. I'm a selfish man, therein lies the whole problem. Torn between my actions and the will of my heart. I had to take it all apart to see where I stood as a man, to depart from this world and leave it in his hands. Come on. Yeah.
Looks like I'm heading for the gold, y'all. Touring on a pothole road, y'all. I get it even if I didn't fit in, winning right up to the end, like I didn't even know, y'all. I have pop's genetics, working hard never to get it, like shit or better. Don't letting life get the best of my efforts. Instead I dedicated to bettering my steps, measuring investments, watch me do it to the death, y'all.